Thank you.
Of course. Bring it up.
Yep. What's good? God is good. Welcome to Thursday Therapies. I am your host, J.DIDIT. This is a podcast for all creatives, artists, poets, rappers, writers, activists in the Sacramento community therapy session. Today I have Cloudy, a Sacramento native, poet, writer, and overall down-to-earth human being. How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Yes.
Just came from a meeting.
Yes. Thank you for showing up for me. I'm so glad we getting this going.
I've been so excited to do this. I've been so excited. I was literally talking about it at the last meeting. I was like, I'm gonna see my friend.
Yes.
We're gonna go and do talking, and we're gonna talk about mental health
Yes.
and art, and I'm so excited.
I love it. I so appreciate your support. So how was your weekend and how was your Christmas?
My weekend was good. I got to really like be home this weekend, which was nice. Some of my siblings moved back home for a little bit, so it's like a full house again, and
nice.
I just moved back to Sacramento too, so it's like not only am I getting to be around my family, but I'm getting to be around the full effects of like my siblings and my parents
so
and stuff.
Cool. As adults.
As adults, yeah.
Where'd you move back from?
I was in Riverside. I went to school at UC
cool.
Riverside, and I
Nice.
majored in creative writing.
Of course you did. It shows.
And so yeah, it's been nice to be home and to see people. Of course, I saw you
Yes.
this weekend doing your thing per usual.
Yes, it is so fun. This past year has been amazing in the creative scene and just meeting so many different writers, artists, rappers, poets, activists, just out there really putting the work in. It's been amazing.
Heavy on putting the work in.
Right.
Like
Sacramento is showing up.
out and showing up. Like
Right.
I have been amazed and honored to watch people just like curate these spaces and wanting to do things together, putting other people's name out there even when they're not in rooms. Like that's my favorite thing about at least this community, regardless. Is like the Sacramento poets, they will always say your name in places that you're not.
I can't wait. I love them. I love Sac poets. It's
like,
so fun.
It's just it just feels like it's always real love, It is.
It's
always
real
love.
genuine love, and it makes you want to grow even more, and it just holds you accountable to your shit and your craft, and it's just like life is more than going to work 9 to 5. Like you got to get out there and show who you are because you're awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, that 9 to 5, I can't.
Right. We need something to help us out.
Right. I need community. It's funny because there's been this conversation about like third spaces.
Right.
Recently, and it's like, we don't have third spaces anymore because everything costs money,
right.
and people don't have extra money right now. And I remember like looking at this conversation happening and being like, I'm so lucky. Right. I'm so lucky to have my third space inside the poetry and art world where there are free events that you can go to and meet people.
And that's what Sacramento is on the rise because it is making it accessible to so many creative people that just can't afford it, and so many people need that outlet. You need that outlet.
Genuine need. Yeah.
Yes. So as you know, this is Thursday Therapies. It's a podcast, a discussion on mental health awareness. So I want to ask you a few questions on mental health and get your outlook on mental health and what you think about it today. So at what age were you when you heard the term mental health, or when did you really know what mental health was?
I think like when I first started to understand what it was because of a group called Sisters of Nia. It's a nonprofit here in Sacramento, and they work with young girls.
Shout them out,
Sisters of Nia.
Sisters of Nia.
And they do a lot of work, especially like around like Black girlhood and like your African roots and stuff, and walking, like being like coming into your power as a girl and stuff. And it was a beautiful experience. I was in it from like 6th to 8th grade, with some other wonderful women that I went to school with when I was younger, and the instructors and facilitators of that space they were always talking about taking care of yourself and like doing things for yourself, and even like doing things for your community and how those can be rewarding for you as a whole. They were the people who introduced Kwanzaa to me, and like what Kwanzaa looks like as a holiday that's not surrounded, like necessarily with like religion and consumerism.
Right.
And they were just in this amazing little group that I got to be a part of and participate in, and they supported so much of like who I was becoming. And that's
a gentle age. That is a very gentle age.
And they did a lot of work to make sure that we knew like we had space. And I think that's the first time I was like aware of the fact that my emotions mattered, my mental and emotional well-being was important, and that it was something that people cared about, that adults cared about. So I'm not necessarily sure if they ever used the words mental health, but it was always talking about our nia, which in Swahili is purpose.
Okay.
And so yeah, that was I guess my first interworkings
Okay,
with
that's
it.
awesome. So they just helped you identify, why am I feeling this way? What is the root behind this feeling? So
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And especially like working through stuff like your hair and how to take care of it as a black girl, and like like African history and Black history, and learning about like where our traditions and cultural norms come from. And I think that it's becoming a more well practiced thing that people will be like, oh well, Black people do this because like genetically or like generationally these are the things and the reasons that like that X, Y, and Z is happening. But to be doing that before it was popular,
Right.
before it was like a widespread thing to do, and how lucky I was to be a part of that
Right.
group of like girls who got that extra support and care.
Well, this helped
Yeah.
mold you into an amazing woman that you are today. I just love your energy and being around you every time. It's you're like fully into who you are, and it shows. It really does show, and I love that in you.
Shout out to Sisters Ania.
Yes, Sisters in Nia. Okay. So did you ever have to witness any mental health disparities in your home or in the community, and how did that make you feel?
A lot.
Are there
I
any ones that like stand out that really stuck to your mind?
I will say like when you grow up and you usually have two sets of grandparents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so on my dad's side, I was like I just never had a grandmother, and I didn't know why until I got older. But she essentially she killed herself.
Mm-hmm.
She committed suicide via drug overdose, and I never met her and whatnot. But I've definitely seen that mental health trickle down even to me. For so like that throughout my childhood, and like the missing pieces of my family and stuff, growing up inside of Oak Park and Stockton, and seeing like how mental health is a really big factor that's not even talked about
Right.
inside of those communities, my low income
Right.
communities, and mainly Black as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like people ignoring like what they're going through, what circumstances they're dealing with, and understanding it as normal when
Right.
it might be their normal, but it's not how
It
you
doesn't
should
have
always
to be normal. Right?
Yeah, it's
But
not.
we're told to what happens in the house stays in the house.
Yeah.
Mask your feelings. Like whatever you're going
Like-
through, you need to buckle
Like
up.
this
and,
is family business.
right.
Yeah.
Right. They don't need to know our business. And they just really don't want. Families don't want us to be telling the world or anybody else our
Yeah.
business, because they're like, oh, they're gonna take you from me, or
Yeah, or
they're
even-
gonna turn it on you.
Even when it's like not necessarily just mental health, but like special education needs or
Right.
neurodivergency, and then how not having those underlying things can affect your mental health, and you always feeling like there's something wrong with you and stuff
Right.
like that. Because I know more than I can count people who grew up and they went to, let's say, like college, or they got into a professional career, and they realized like, oh, it wasn't like that I didn't want to pay attention, I had ADHD.
Right.
Or it wasn't that I didn't care, I have a little bit of depression.
Right.
And so
And a lot of, mainly, everybody has some sort of disability, that they could get help with, and, they just don't know how to.
Yeah.
We're not, we're human beings, and there's no real handbook on XYZ on how to be a perfect
Yeah.
human being, We're all trying to figure it out on our own,
Yeah.
and in those neighborhoods and low income neighborhoods, there's not a lot of education on mental health. There's not a lot of education. And people don't want to seek the education because they don't feel like it's safe to tell people what's going on with them, because then they feel like they're gonna, they're crazy, and they're gonna get locked up.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the worst parts of being Black and
Yeah.
really not having the education. I had to figure it out on my own, because my mom is Native American. She's the only one who raised me. So, no, it's been very difficult in trying to navigate this system.
Yeah.
Seriously. So how did that make you feel?
I mean, I was always quite different than like my family members and my friends growing up. They all made fun of me because they're like, oh, she's just a little
Just a
she's
little
she's just a little different. like even my family was into like music and I was into poetry, you know, so just like slight just differences between me and the people around me. And so I just kind of stepped into that I'm different. I don't experience things the same way that other people do. I don't think about things the same way the people around me do. And once I got more comfortable with that, like I'm just a little different. I'm not less than. I'm not unworthy.
Right.
I'm just a little different.
Yeah.
And that's okay because we're all human. We're all supposed to be different.
We're supposed to be different,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the beauty in embracing your true authentic
Yeah.
self, is being different than anybody else.
Yes, and I'll definitely say that art was the thing for me. Poetry and writing was the thing always. It was a huge part of me being comfortable with who I am and finding community.
Yes.
It was even better like once I was able to like tell people like this is what I do with my art and this is why people care about it.
Right.
And then being like, you know what, I don't get it. Like, I'm not a poet or I don't like poetry or whatever, but I see what you do and that you love it. And that like, just having art and having the understanding that I don't have to be like everybody else, definitely helped me survive all of the crazy in my head, you know,
well, I think
all the
poetry
chaoticness of
sorry,
growing up.
right. Poetry and art is I think a true form of therapy.
Yeah.
It is, you know, you're sitting there getting out of your mind and putting whatever is in there on paper and expressing it and letting it go and releasing it. And that's the whole point of therapy, is releasing those inner thoughts and those, you know, even on paper, if you're painting a canvas, you're getting out of your head and putting it on a canvas, and it's keeping your mind busy. So that's amazing, you know, that's definitely amazing. And poetry is music, you know, it's definitely music. So do you feel like the world is understanding, how do you feel like the world's understanding on mental health has changed since you were younger?
I feel like the phrase the phrase isn't dirty to people anymore. You know what I mean? Like people used to hear like mental health, like they're sick, and now it's like, oh, like you need a break. Right. You need time to rest. You need to go take a spa day maybe. You need to write something down.
Right.
Maybe you need to get some counseling. And there's a lot more resources out there now. Right. I love the conversation that has shifted from, oh, that's a crazy person to, oh, that person's underserved. Right. Or we need public health care so that we can have mental health services for free for people and stuff like that, right? So I love that shift in conversation, but I also think that it's opened the doors for people to not think that there's something wrong with them. Right. Like, we all know that we all go through shit now. Right. Like, back then it was like, oh, you're unhappy? What for? Right. Like, why aren't you happy? What's wrong? You got a roof over your head.
You look happy on the outside.
Right. Like,
you should be happy, right?
Yeah, like that just assumption that if you have clothes and food and possibly some income, you're okay. Right. When there's so much more that a human needs, right? Yes. Those are basic things. We should all have those things. We should. And that's another conversation. Yes, but we should all have those
definitely,
things.
Definitely, and I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
But the fact that somebody could say like, I'm struggling with mental health right now, and it's not a thing where, you know, people are judging them or necessarily or writing them off as like dramatic or emotional. Instead, it's like, okay, that's a serious thing. We should get you talking to somebody. We should hear some resources. Like, the conversation and the point of view has definitely shifted for the better.
It has shifted, but in this point, like, it is very difficult to ask people for help. Yeah. It is very difficult to ask people for any type of help, and then to put your pride down and say, I'm struggling mentally, like, I don't know what to do, that is difficult in itself. Yeah. So for people to even want to ask and seek help is a big change. Yeah. For mental health. Yeah. And I think it's amazing, you know. I really do think it's amazing that people are beginning to trust more in the system, even though the system is, you know, it's pretty, you know, pretty questionable, but, you know, there's resources out there when you seek the right resources and you have the right people, you know, around, and be able to talk and discuss these issues, it just makes it a lot easier. You know, you don't have to be afraid. And that's why I'm bringing this podcast here for all these creatives, because there's so many young people in the scene that really, you know, could benefit from therapy, you know, and get the help that they need. And I just think that bringing awareness to them that, you know, life is difficult and challenging, but you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. Most of my friends are in therapy. That
That's
are
amazing.
like within my age group, like most of them. Now I will say not every therapist is a good therapist.
Not every therapist is a good therapist, and I do stress that, is that if somebody does not fit for you, like if you get a shady feeling, switch. That's what insurance is for, and you need to advocate for yourself. Be the CEO of your health and your mental health, and seek out other therapists.
Yeah,
because not every therapist
is created equal.
Right. So can you tell us any stories?
I mean, I had one friend who was like, she was like, my therapist is really nice, but it sounds like she wants to be my friend more than she wants to be my therapist.
No.
And one time the lady said, like, you know, you have really dope problems.
Oh,
that,
wow.
you know, which I think is a crazy thing to say to someone. It's outlandish, like one of your patients, especially.
Right.
And I can kind of understand what she meant by that. Like,
right.
you're in a position that your problems wouldn't be your problems if you weren't headed somewhere great. Is what
right.
I think she meant to say.
Right, but being in the moment,
but being
can't
in the
take
moment,
it that way.
You said my problems are dope, which is just not what, you know, like
right.
not what as a patient
right.
I would need to hear. And so I definitely told her, I said, you need to get a new therapist.
Yeah. And it's okay to shop around.
And it's okay.
Everybody's not a true fit.
I was like, it's okay to, like, and maybe you guys can be friends. I was like, if you think that she's wonderful and
right.
you don't want to be her patient anymore because you feel like it's not progressing that way, but she's a wonderful person, you want to be her friend, well, if you're not her patient anymore, maybe you guys can be friends. Because it wasn't right. like a thing of animosity or that right. she wasn't trying to do her job. She just wasn't.
Her delivery
her delivery was off a little bit. I've also, like, I went to talk to a therapist and, like, first session, she was like, you need to be on pills. And I was like,
oh, no.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
No. That's another thing is, if therapy is for you to discuss what's going on with you. And if you
right.
feel like, don't try to just come into therapy and take a whole bunch of pills. I don't think that's not the number one thing to do.
And I don't think you can get to the bottom of something in one session. I think that
not at all.
Yeah, like
you need time.
And I will say during that time it was really rough for me. And whatnot. But I was like, I'm not taking pills. I'm sorry. Right. There's a history of addiction in the family, and I know that antidepressants are not and anti-anxiety medication aren't the same
right.
as, like, going out and buying
right.
a pack. But still, I'm
right.
not. I would much rather try and talk it out.
Yes.
Like, because I did do therapy previous to that, and it was great. It helped me tremendously, and there were no pills involved. So I was like, I would like to try not doing that.
Well, I'm not knocking all pills. I'm not saying that, for some people they may need that. Yeah. They may need to take some pills. I've taken pills for and when it was time for me to get off the pills, it was time for me to get off, you know, and I told myself that, and I told the doctor that the therapist that I don't want to get, this is something that I want to do, because at that time it was a real difficult time for me too, and I was just like, I didn't know what else to do, so that was like a last resort thing, you know, and it worked for the time being, and then, mentally I'm like, okay, I don't want to be on this, I don't want to be,
dependent.
I don't want to be dependent on any type of, chemical, any type of anything, so, but for some people they may need it.
Yeah. And I do think that antidepressants, and especially anti-anxiety medication, really help.
Right.
I just don't think that you can diagnose that in our first session.
Absolutely not.
I was like, that is,
no.
You don't know me.
Absolutely not, right.
And so those are, I think, like the two big therapy stories that I have.
Okay.
That I was like, maybe not.
Right. And I'm sure there are many more. Many people have many more, but that's why I stress the fact that if a therapist isn't working for you,
shop around. Get
a new therapist. Ask your friends. If your friends are in therapy, ask your doctor for a referral. There's so many resources out there.
There are. And, like, some therapists are wonderful. My therapist throughout high school was amazing. And she was, like, this amazing Black woman who, like, had a baby young and, like, still got her degrees, and then came back to work with young Black kids at a school. And I stumbled upon like going into therapy on accident. An incident happened with the school, and they're like, "You need to talk to the therapist." And I was like, "I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that." And then they were like, "No, you have to." And I met her, and she was wonderful. And
that's so amazing.
was for 4 years,
That's
all
amazing.
4 years. So yeah, I've left therapy.
Yes.
10 out of 10 recommend.
I recommend it. It's just a safe space for you to go lay your shit out, really.
Yeah.
Lay your shit out, without any influence of family, friends, the media, whoever,
Nothing.
the neighbor, the dog on the street, there's no
Right.
influence. It's just you and your therapist to just tell them what you got going on in your mind and work through it.
Yep.
Get more resources, coping skills,
It's
all
the
that.
best.
Yes, yes, it is. Okay, so do you think there's still a stigma on mental health?
I think that in some places there can be, for sure. I don't see that stigma in the places that I occupy, in the communities
Right.
that I choose to be in.
Right.
But I also have the luxury of choice.
Right.
Some people don't.
Right.
And so I will say that I know it's there, and I've definitely like heard that language. I mean, we're in California, we're in Sacramento,
Right.
we're in one of the most diverse cities in the world, we're in one of the most activisty cities
Right.
in the world.
Right.
I had the luxury of going to basically an all black high school inside of this city, and I'm friends with artists.
Right.
And I'm queer. So my
Right.
communities are very much about mental health and caring for each other and
Right.
nurturing and talking and making sure if we can't provide the support that our people need, that we're sending them elsewhere to get
Right.
that support. And I'm lucky to have that and to be involved with the people that I'm
That's
involved with.
amazing.
But
Yes.
I know that it's not the same for others, and
It's not.
and it doesn't look the same for some people in the same communities that I'm in.
Right.
And so I know that there is stigma.
Right.
I just don't experience much of it.
Right.
If anything, I have my friends like, you should be back in therapy. Like, you're doing okay, but you could be doing better. Like,
Right.
you should be reaching out to be proactive about your mental health.
Yes.
And
See, that's a good group of friends.
That's what I'm
right
saying.
there,
Like, I'm very
because
lucky.
I still feel the stigma, like, oh, you're just crazy, or you're just having a bad day, or you're just going through one of your things.
Yeah.
Because I am different, and I express myself different, and I'm very passionate in what I do, so it might come across looking crazy, but really I genuinely love and care about the situation,
Yeah.
so but yeah, no, that's good. That's good that you have a great support of friends and family and community around you. That's key. And if you seek therapy, that's the type of people that you're gonna seek.
Yeah.
Because you're really in tune with yourself and who you are as a human being. When you seek therapy, you're able to discuss and talk through your issues. And really be in tune with who you are to put yourself in those type of positions.
And like building that community is like key to keeping that mental health as well. I'm a big fan of cut that person off.
Cut them off. I
I'm-
have had a long 2024 learning a lot of that, but cut them off.
I have learned to cut the person off, to put some distance. I'm the first to tell you I'm not good at responding to something. If I don't want to respond, I'm not going to do it. And if I don't do it when you want me to, I might forget about it.
Right.
It is what it is.
But you got to protect your energy.
But you have to protect your energy. And I think that especially being inside of the close-knit communities that like we're in, it's easy for that energy to be used up and to always be outside and to be extremely
every day of the
involved.
week
Every day of the week is something
I'll be
going on.
popping up. I'll be like, oh, there goes Cloudy. Then I pop up somewhere else. Oh, there she go again.
Yes.
Now I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see Cloudy.
Right. And now and then we become friends and we get to know each other intimately, even if it's not through the one-on-one conversation all the time. We go up to the mic and we talk about stuff that's going on in our life, whether it's just talking or we're rapping, doing poetry, singing, all the things, right? And so learning to even like with the space, like I was and because I see you all the time, like I was out almost every night, and the past like 3-4 weeks I've been like, I'm not doing that. I gotta pull back some for myself. So making sure that you're good first before you go elsewhere.
Before anybody else, and cut them off.
Yeah,
cut off that poetry night.
Cut off that poetry night. Cut off that event. Cut off that person.
We can't be everywhere.
Put some distance.
Yes, I love that.
You could tell people don't text me after 10. I'm not going to answer.
Look, my phone is on do not disturb. Look, you can text me all you want. I ain't gonna answer.
I'll open it and read it and won't respond. I don't
know. I see it, but I'm like,
it.
you know what? My mind has to be in a mental place if I really want to go there.
And talk.
And I don't have to if I don't want to. I don't have to if I don't want to. And I've been learning that this year. It's just like, just because you call me or you text me, I don't have to respond.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Yeah, you can't make me.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Look, I do not care who you are unless you are God.
Right.
So.
And yeah, that's been a thing of just not talking to people, putting distance between folks and stuff. Whether that, and even that includes family.
It does.
It includes family.
It includes family. Yes, that is the number one.
If somebody is not good for you, if they're not providing good energy, if you guys, if they're not feeding your spirit, then put that distance there. I'm not saying cut everybody in your family off, but you can
love people from a distance,
and you can love them well from a distance.
Very well.
I'll tell you, my relationship with my mother it's always been good, but it improved so much when I moved down to SoCal for a while. And I was like, this is we've never had this type of relationship before. We went to Europe together. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That's beautiful.
And I live at home again, and it's good. We're still in a good place, but I know that that what I had when I was not living in the same house as my mom is special because of the distance. It does make the heart grow fonder.
It does make the heart grow fonder. I like that a lot. That's so cool. Okay, so what are you doing for your own mental health? I think you kind of put a little bit of twist on that and shared that you do seek. Are you still seeking mental health?
Mm-hmm. And I write. You
write a lot.
There are things that. And I want
journaling.
I want artists to know that you can create art and not share it.
Right.
That is, oh my God. There are so many poems that I write that will never see light of day because it's not for nobody but me.
Yeah, I do.
Doodles. I'm not at all a great painter or visual artist, but I will draw and paint for myself. I like to give myself 30 minutes to 45 every day when I first wake up. No phone. Yes, I just read. Yep. That's how I've been doing I'm not sure if you've heard that I've been doing the reading a poetry book a week thing. Okay. But that's how I've been doing that because I've been waking up and stuff. And then even trying to listen to a book on my way to work, or listen to a book when I'm taking a walk. Right. And over the course of a week or two, I finished an audio book. Yes. My favorite one, just if anyone's wondering, to randomly listen to, is Fahrenheit 451. It's so good. It's such a good book to have in my headphones. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. And I'll just listen to it randomly, and it's super long. It's I think it's I don't know. It's a very long book. So to listen to it, you get a good week or two out of it.
Okay.
At least for
good.
me.
I'm gonna have to listen to that one.
And so that stuff is always nice. I always keep my toes done. That helps. I don't know. It helps me.
That's my thing.
It helps me feel good.
You have to get a good pedicure.
It's everything can be really crazy, but I look down and my toes is cute and it makes me happy. Yes. I don't know what it is, but it makes me happy.
That's what makes me happy. I'm like, yes. My hands are okay. They look okay. But I'm just
fine.
My feet. Oh, yes. I love that. And you do. My next question was, do you trust therapy? You do. Yes. You shared that, and it's amazing. What are your coping skills that you use to get? Yeah. What are your coping skills that you use to get you through the day? And you said that already, so all those questions were tied into that. So,
my bad.
No, it's all good. No, this is amazing. We had great time. Good timing. So what can you tell our listeners to encourage them to seek mental health support?
I would say, well, I guess it depends on where you are in your journey, right? But for sure, I would say check in with yourself and ask you what you need.
Right. Check yourself, check your mental health.
Check yourself, check your mental health.
Yes.
Every time. I think that some people need to journal and they need to write for themselves and just figure it out before they can talk to somebody else.
Right.
I think that some people need to go outside. Some people, it really is, I just need a walk. I need a change of scenery. Yes. I need fresh air. Sometimes you need sleep.
Yes.
Take some time to rest. Don't go to that event.
Not too much sleep, though.
Not too much sleep.
But
if you, for me, I need more sleep, and yes. I know that. Yes. And it's been a thing of trying to give myself the grace of oh, you don't have to be at this event. You can go home and go to sleep.
Right.
So that you can function and that you feel healthy. Right. Because if you don't properly take care of yourself, your mental isn't going to be right.
It's not. And what you eat. Right, and your sun consumption, you really do need to get outside. I started to feel that over the past week.
Don't forget that sunscreen.
Right. Right, no, I did. I started to feel that this past week because I'm like, it was rainy, it was cold, it was gloomy, and I'm like, I'm not going outside. It's too cold. But then I'm like, you need to get up and go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to get your body moving. Like, Jamie, get up and go for a walk. And so once I did, I felt so much better, even though it was freezing outside, you know. But I'm just like looking around and checking out the scene and, you know, watching there's a million people out there walking around in the rain. I'm like, why wasn't I already walking out in the rain? You know, it's just like mental health. Hello.
I will say, like, a thing that if ever I'm like in a funk, like a really bad funk, and I'm just like, I need to be outside. I don't want to talk to people. I just need to go outside where there are people. The farmer's market.
Oh yes.
I'll just walk around the one down here.
Right, yep. I'll every Saturday.
Every Saturday
okay,
morning.
well, I might see you down there.
Yes, I just go and I just walk around and I feel the sun. Maybe I get some flowers. I do like to get myself flowers.
I love that too.
Yeah,
everybody check out Midtown Farmers Market every Saturday.
It's I think
year
like the
round.
second best in the nation.
It's
like for something
every Saturday.
But yeah, it's amazing and it's so nice and I do buy myself flowers.
Yes.
I was in a relationship for a long time, and that whole time I never got flowers from my partner.
Right.
And I was like, why the fuck am I waiting for someone to buy me flowers?
Buy them.
And so almost every 2 weeks I buy myself like a bouquet of like flowers, eucalyptus.
I need to get back into that and just put them on the table because they're so beautiful.
Yeah. And I get
so
to,
beautiful.
I really do try to keep them alive until they won't anymore.
Until they last for real, pedal.
But I do think that like doing things for yourself, doing things to make your space feel like you.
Doing things alone. Love to do
something alone.
I do too. I'll be alone running into you alone.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, now we together, but we alone.
We always see each other when we're alone, actually. That's so true.
Yes.
I love taking myself out on dates.
Right.
I love to go out and experience the world. Like, if I did move to a different city tomorrow without knowing one person, I'd be okay.
I would too.
Because I started doing things alone.
Right.
Like,
I can get to. All I gotta do is walk outside and figure out, you know, get on the, you know, the bus, the train, wherever I need to do, and just go explore the city.
Yeah.
You know, explore the people and get to know, talk to strangers. That's one thing that I really love to do is just talk to strangers. That's it. It's therapeutic.
It's so wonderful, like learning new things from people, and sometimes not even like building a relationship out of that, but just enjoying the moment of like, I met a new person, learned a new thing.
Right.
Met a new person, had a conversation that'll stick with me.
Right. Or they told me about this dope ass spot.
Yeah.
You know, and now this is my spot.
And now these are the things I like to do. Yeah.
Right.
It's
alone.
Heavy on please don't start taking. This is a random tip. Don't take nobody on a date where you like to go alone, y'all.
Right. Don't do that, because then they gonna ruin it.
I done made a mistake.
Now you gonna be popping up. They gonna be popping up.
If they pop up in my spot, I'm gonna be upset. But that's okay. No. It's not gonna be upset because they're there. Just because it's like no one knows me there. I get to be at my spot and be alone.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, and I like to find the little places in Sacramento and try them by myself.
I do too.
And then maybe after a few times I'll be like, all right, I'll tell somebody about this spot.
I love doing that. They're like, dang girl, you know all the spots. I'm like,
show do.
Hello.
You ain't got you got no clue how many spots I know.
No idea. I got a spot for you though. I want to see if you've been there. I want to talk to you.
Okay.
About it
We'll talk about it after.
But
yeah, I think that really like trying to find yourself and be good with yourself.
Right.
And all the things that make you a little weird, a little different, love them. Love on them.
Embrace them. If you think about something like, oh, I want to try that one time. Try it. I want to do that. I want to experience this. Do it. Don't wait for. Don't call nobody and be like, hey, you want to do this with me? Just do it by yourself.
And I know that like for some people this is like not comforting, but for me, we're on a huge rock floating in an endless void.
Right.
In a timeline of forever.
Right.
Like I deserve and I get to have fun with my little speck of time as a little speck of dust in this huge void, right? Like regardless of like religion and whatnot. I don't know. I grew up Catholic, y'all, so you know that's a whole thing. But I do believe that there is a reason that we're here, and I think that the person, entity, God, whatever spirit, the spirits, the ancestors that have led to you being here today, they want you to have a happy and whole life.
Yes.
And so you know,
I
go
believe
and
that.
have that happy whole life and don't depend or wait on other people to
Right.
do
I
it
think
with
people
you.
get so lost in the moment. They get so lost in media and
Yeah.
other people's input and opinions on their life,
Yeah.
and they don't stand up for themselves. And I'm like a big advocate for myself. You know, I healed myself, you
Mm-hmm.
know, with this past year and going through that. And I'm just like, I'm not going to let anybody else take that energy away from me.
Yeah.
And people are just, they think, oh, because you're my mom or you're my sister, I have to respond to you or I have to do what you say. No, you don't. You sure don't. No, you know, like you said, protect it from a
Listen,
distance, protect that energy.
that block button is real cute.
Right.
I'll unblock you at the end of the day,
Girl,
but you
block, erase, delete.
you are not gonna come up in here
Right.
and run what I got going on. I always say you can't make me mad on my phone.
Right.
You can't make me
You
mad on
cannot
my
make
phone.
me. You hear that? You cannot make me mad on my phone.
And you can't dictate anything that you're not paying for.
Exactly. That's what I always say. I'll be like, they ain't paying my bills.
They ain't
I
paying,
don't care what
not
they think.
a damn bill.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
If you don't
So
get
your
out my
opinion
face,
don't mean nothing to me.
Right.
It don't matter because it just takes energy. If I have to hear what you got to say, that's taking energy because then I have to think of if I'm going to respond or not,
Yeah.
and that takes a bit of energy.
And I will say, like, especially as Black women, like, people always expect us to do the emotional labor for them.
Right.
Like, and I, it's a backhanded compliment, the idea of, like, people will tell their kids, like, if you're ever in trouble, go find a Black woman.
Right.
And, like, of course it would be us, right?
Because we're strong.
Because we're strong,
Right.
and we're carrying. And honestly, we do have that generational knowledge and nurture in
Right.
us. We do.
Yes.
We're amazing.
We are.
And
we
that's
are
it.
amazing.
But that
Yes,
doesn't
we
mean
are.
that we owe it to you.
We sure don't. We
That
sure the
doesn't-
fuck don't.
We sure the fuck don't.
sure
we
the
don't.
fuck
We don't owe you comfort and solace and safety
Nope.
because nobody really provides that for us but us.
But us.
And there's a few people out
Right.
there, there's a few places now and then, like here and there, that'll do those things, but the way that we have to navigate the world
Right.
and take care of everybody, like fuck that. It's
Fuck
time
that.
to take
Yeah,
care of
no,
ourselves.
Nobody shows up for us
the way that
like we show up for ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's why this year has been such a big lesson
Mhm.
in protecting that energy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's taken a long time. And you got all that now. You got a long time to go, but I'm inspired by that because you're so young and you have a lot of years, but you're solid in protecting your energy. And I'm glad that you're on this podcast to let other people, other listeners know that it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, even at a younger age, if you don't know, get some help.
Yeah.
If you just don't know how to navigate, because it's stressful. You're young, you're getting into this world and trying to learn all these things. It is very stressful, but
And,
it's
like,
okay to ask for help.
Yeah, and those things take time. I think that my mother is a very not with the bullshit type of woman,
Right.
and I got that strong.
That's
I
good.
got that gene bad. Because even like when I'm talking to people and they'll be like, "Oh, like you know when this happens?" And I'm like, "No. I don't do that.
Right. No.
I don't allow that. That doesn't happen.
Right.
That doesn't happen and continue
Right.
in my life.
Right.
It might happen and that's it.
Right.
But like
That'll be the last time.
that'll be the first and last every
Right.
single time. I'm
Right.
sorry. I don't do that. And people do often ask me like, where did that come from? And I'm like, I don't know. But recently I've been realizing it
That's
is
my
my
mama.
mother. It
Right.
is indeed my
Right.
mother.
That's awesome.
I love
that.
her.
I love that. That's good.
And I'm lucky to have like the not just my mom but the women in my
Right.
family to be like, we're not putting up with
That's a beautiful
with
thing.
like these things that are not healthy or good for us, and we're not feeding into it, and they do it without this animosity
Right.
towards people.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing to be like, this is no longer good for me and I'm walking away,
Right.
and I still love you.
Yes.
And that
I love that. I love that.
when I master it, dear God.
Yes, yes, yes. That's amazing. That is, I love that. Okay. So now let's switch gears and discuss your awesome craft. What have you experienced in the Sacramento scene, and what venues do you attend? I know you attend a lot because I see you at a lot. You know, you don't have to answer that question because we know, but the listeners don't know.
Yeah.
And for them to show up and show out, because poetry is a form of therapy.
Yeah.
You know, and being able to get up in front of a crowd of people and expressing your true, genuine feelings on the inside out, it's very therapeutic, and it helps
Yeah.
your mental health. So I've seen you at multiple locations and shared your work, and you are very phenomenal in your writing. I can't say amazing because your writing and the way it flows and just listening to your experiences. I love it. I love hearing you.
Thank you. That means so much coming from you.
Thank you.
Means so much for so many reasons, but like you're such an authentic and like genuine, I'm gonna go and get it artist that like hearing that from you really fills my heart.
Thank you.
Love you.
Yes.
And so I mean I started writing when I was like in elementary school. I was just doodling not doodling, but like writing in a diary.
Right.
And I got into theater, and I thought that I like theater. I'm a theater kid. I'm
Right.
like I'm a little different, like theater kids are. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And then at some point I was like, I think I just like Shakespeare a little bit.
Okay.
Like I just think that I want to stick with Shakespearean theater. And then I was like, no, I just like Shakespeare. I just like writing. I like poetry and the complexity of language and learning about it and all of the effortless genius that went into like Shakespeare's writing, right?
Yes.
And then I learned about spoken word. And I was like,
That's it.
That's what I want to do.
Right.
I was like, that is my thing.
I love that.
And I started writing spoken word poems and doing them, and the first time that I ever performed one, it was at a talent show with Sisters of Nia, and
wow.
nobody clapped. It was about mental health stuff. So one of my friends in middle school at the time was self-harming.
Maybe they didn't understand it.
Oh yeah, it was definitely just like a scary concept for a 12-year-old to be reading at a talent show for middle school, right? Like it was just not the environment, and people didn't know how to react. And I was like, well, it can't get worse than that, so I'm gonna keep writing.
Right.
And I did.
That's amazing, though. That's amazing.
Thank you. And I've been writing since and doing slams. I was Sacramento Youth Poet Laureate.
Yes, you were.
I published my book when I was 17.
What is your book so they can get it? Is it still out there in Barnes & Noble?
It's on Amazon. It's called Receipts of My Giving Gifts. I will give a disclaimer that I was 17 and that book is very different than my writing now. But there are still.
You got a new one coming up?
I do. I am working on a new book.
I love that.
I'm working on a new book. I have a cover and a name, and I have about 25 poems ready to go, and a few more that I'm working on.
Okay.
Well, a lot more that I'm working on to go into that collection.
Okay. Everybody's at work. I see a lot of people at work. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because I got a couple in the book too.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. That's awesome.
It's putting out something, because I did it the first time, and I did it like, a friend made a joke, and she was like, you've written so many poems about this certain situation, you might as well make a book. And I was like, well, fuck it, I will.
Right. Right. Yeah,
that's the type of high schooler I was, guys. So I did, and it was fun, and it was self-published.
And it paid off. That's good.
Yeah, and it's been cool to say, like, hey, my work's published and stuff, but I do want to do something more intentional and, like, have, now that I'm an adult for real, and have, like, have, like, a formal publishing process and something that feels more curated, like, to me, and not just like the situation I was going through.
Right.
Because that situation that I was going through not only is like so minimal on the scale of like who I am
but
today.
it's okay. It's who you were then.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because some 17-year-old might feel that. They might be able to pick that book up and learn something from that.
Yes.
And get help or seek help or whatever the book is about.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, but that could be helping somebody else at that age. So that's good.
And it has. I've had people like send me pages of the book and be like, this poem was really like helpful for me, and that made me like, it's the only reason that it's still up, because I would have taken it down.
Really?
Like I'm very anxious about my art being out there.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, I don't post videos of me on Instagram. I don't record myself. I don't necessarily like post my poems.
Right.
But I do show up and perform them, leading to the question. Places to perform poetry in Sacramento. I mean, we had CSSB on Tuesdays.
We're at CSSB shooting podcast.
Right now.
Shout out CSSB.
Shout out CSSB. We had we have the SPC on Mondays.
Yep, Sacramento Poetry Center.
Yes. We have not specifically for poetry, but Torch Club on Sundays for jam sessions.
Yes.
If you're a poet, you can go up to the mic.
Yes.
It is a very hot mic.
Hot
so,
scene, hot mic.
Hot scene, hot mic.
I love
Yeah.
it. That's my favorite spot right there right now.
Oh, man.
That is my favorite spot right now.
love going there and just watching. Oh, it's so
shout
much.
Out Porch Club, shout out Lab Rats for hosting it for us.
Yes. I'm trying to think there's more. I know that
there's the Flamingo Club on Tuesday nights, jazz, and it's a hot mic also. You can jump on the scene.
There's Tea and Poetry.
Tea and Poetry.
There's Sailor Soul.
Yes.
I always say it wrong. I'm sorry, girl. And then there's another Mahogany
Nights. There's Poetry on J.
Out the Way on J.
Out the Way on J.
Yes, there's Out the Way on J. And then there's also.
I'm sorry for butchering your guys.
I know. I'm so sorry, y'all.
There's so many.
We do, and I'm trying to like remember all of them right now.
Right.
There's a lot of spaces, and then there's always SAC Poet Society.
Always. Great. And now that's another thing was the upcoming projects you have that you're working on. You spoke a little bit on your book. I know you have a book club coming up.
Yes, so in collaboration with SAC Poet Society, I'll be doing a book club once a month on Thursdays. I think like 7 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
And we'll be reading a book. You guys get a month to read it. I'm not crazy. I'm not gonna make you read a poetry book a week like I do. Right. But I do want to like make it accessible. So it's gonna be. We have a book, and I will be reading the whole book, and people have the option to. I'm gonna try and make sure that the books I pick are available like online for free, so that people, if they have access to internet, can read the book online.
At Libby.
Okay. I also will print out specific poems that I'm gonna pick to like go over in the book club. So if you didn't get a chance to get your hands on the book, or you didn't get a chance to have access to the internet or whatever, even if your work was crazy that month and you couldn't read the whole book and you want to come and just discuss some poems, I'll have those printed out, and so people can come and like read those poems and go through them with us and talk about it. I am a person who likes to teach, so we will be doing the book club and like talking about it, but in a way of like talking about how the book functions, what the author used to like literary devices and stuff to portray certain things in the book. I want us to dive into the artistry of it, because the goal is that it benefits our artists, right? I want our artists to be learning something.
So I'm going to learn through all these poems, and then I'll be able to go and write my book.
Yes.
And do my own book.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we have been featured on GTFO's poetry journal.
You have.
Oh, you weren't in there?
No, I didn't apply for it because I think I just moved back.
Okay.
I think I had like literally
I think you did.
I just moved back, and I was like, what is GTFO? I'm confused because the whole community had shifted from when I used to be here to when I moved back. I was gone 3.5 years, y'all.
Okay. Now she's back in the scene.
I'm back in the scene. And yeah, I mean, there's all these beautiful spaces. I feel like I'm missing one. I feel like I'm missing a big one in my head, and I can't put my finger on what it is. But those are the spaces that okay, I know what it is, and it's not, I guess, a consistent thing, but there are the poetry hot mics, like the intersection that happens.
Yes, and there's going to be one coming up on the 13th.
Capital Cadence.
Yes.
Yes, and so
that's put on by Rye and Al.
Yep.
Yes. SAC Poets and GTFO are going to show up and show out again.
Yes.
I love that.
And so, that's I was like, there's something in my head that's not, it just wasn't coming out, but that, that place is great.
Self-design art gallery.
Self-design. There we go. Okay, self-design. I was like, it's on Thursday in my head, and I couldn't figure out what Thursday nights was. Self-design art galleries. They just got a new location, and it's gorgeous. It's right by Doco, and you can like see everything out the window. It's so pretty. It's so big, and they are wonderful. They support visual. They support all types of arts. I mean, if you think it's art, and somebody's doing it, they're gonna give somebody a platform and get somebody paid. It's a beautiful space, and the owners really care about the art community, and like
they always got food there.
They always got food.
There.
They treat us like they're babies. It's amazing.
Like for their kids always. Yes.
I haven't been able to make it back since I think the last time that we were there. It was like
Sacramento and GTFO clap.
It was they had an event on that Saturday, and I haven't been back since.
Right.
But they're amazing. Oh my God. And it's all love with them all the time.
Very much so. So my next question is, would you like to share one of your poems?
Oh, well, do you have a poem you want me to share? Because you've heard quite a bit.
I like the one with Anon.
Anon.
What's the name of the?
It's called Anonymous.
Anonymous.
Let me see if I can
Yes.
find it. Well,
That is
yes,
such a good poem.
that poem.
I'm like, I want to do something like that. Okay, I'm like, I love that.
So I'm gonna shout out Morgan Parker.
Okay.
Morgan Parker is a phenomenal Black poet. She has a couple of books, but my favorite by her is "There Are More Beautiful Things Than Beyonce."
Okay.
Gorgeous writer,
Yeah, okay,
gorgeous
I'm gonna have to
writer.
look her.
And she wrote this poem called "Matt" about being a Black woman dating white men.
Right.
And I don't do that, so I wanted to
She
write.
said, I don't do that.
I wanted to write. I wanted to write for sure a poem after that one because I don't something about it just always made me come back to it. I think it's the way that she organized it because at first you don't know like is this all the same person, are these different people,
I'm intertwined and up and down and all around. I love it.
I'm like I don't know what's going on,
but that's how my mind works though.
Yes.
Because it's just like you
and
just listen to the poem.
and you get like a very clear vision of like the type of treatment that she got throughout
Right.
these different relationships.
Right.
And you start to realize that they're different relationships.
Right. I love that.
And at the end, she connects it back to our ancestors.
Right.
And what we've gone through is like generationally as Black women
Right.
with white men.
Right.
And yeah, I think that for me that thing has been alcohol. I've had a lot of people unfortunately in my orbit that use alcohol to cope,
Right.
or as a crutch.
Right.
And sometimes you don't notice until it's like you're pulled in, and
Right.
then it's hard to leave that person when you love and care about them, or
Yes.
to like distance yourself. And that's what this one was about. And I did use the pronouns he, but it's gender neutral, y'all. Just so y'all
Right.
know.
Right. I get it.
But yeah, this is Anonymous after Morgan Parker. I seem to continuously be enamored with men who carry liquor on their breath, who slur their words and drink me until there's nothing left. They beg to not be named, to not be pulled out of the curtain of night. For all intents and purposes, I will call them anonymous, Anon for short. I will give them more cover. Anon says they'd never date an addict. He's tried and he'd rather die than witness death. Anon cries when his mom drinks. He tells me I remind him of her when we argue. Anon won't tell me about his parents. They know more about me than I'll ever know of them. He asks if I want another drink and then orders 2 for himself. Anon likes anything with alcohol in it so long as it's bitter. He says it reminds him of home. Anon says he gets it from his father. Anon likes gin, swears he's not like his mother and sneaks a bottle into the movie theater. Anon makes me buy him a pack of cigarettes whenever we go out for a drink and swears his dad doesn't have a problem. He always pays for my drink. Anon says it's okay to fall in love. Anon says he just needs to have fun. He tells me he misses me and freedom between swigs. He offered me a cigarette despite my constant protest. Anon says we shouldn't have expectations, then texts me he misses me and doesn't respond for weeks. Anon continues to try and have sex, even though we are friends now, even though I'm drunk. Anon apologizes when he's sober. Anon says I have expectations. He only contacts me when the sun goes down. Anon wants to show me new music, says that punk people are good people that look bad, and hippies are bad people who look good, tells me to try a mosh pit, to lose control, tells me to get drunk off of the mob. Anon wants to fuck me at a park. Anon calls me past midnight to say he wants me. Anon tries to fuck me while I have a boyfriend. Anon whispers he needs me in the women's bathroom of an LA club. He doesn't care who notices. I lay splayed out in his friend's living room and we let his friends watch. I might love Anon. He says sexuality is a spectrum. I could love Anon, but I don't know him. Anon was in love once. Anon thinks labels are stupid. Anon tells his friends we won't make it. Anon made me a playlist. Anon only gives gifts when he's wrong. I loved Anon and Anon loved me. Anon says he'd marry me. Anon is an asshole. Anon wasn't always like this. Anon tells me he doesn't have a problem. Anon knows he has a problem. Anon tells me it's not that bad, that he can stop. whenever he wants. Anon says he won't. Anon swears he wasn't always like this, that you have to understand what the influence is like. Swears he danced once at a dark party that smelled like something died and he was reborn. Oh, how I wish I could believe you. Anon, 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 promises it wasn't the liquor. That he remembers that it was real. It always is. Real for them. I know. I grew up with the shadow of Anon. Loved him like a bird without a nest. Prayed he'd come home. Prayed he'd love me until I knew he couldn't. Then I put away the unworn clothes in my suitcase and read books without him. I told myself I'd stop waiting. Told myself Anon doesn't get to love me on his terms. I won't eat whatever he tries to regurgitate in my mouth. I've loved Anon my whole life the way I've loved fire, from afar and unable to touch him.
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. The phenomenal writing is amazing. Like, that just is, it just brought up so much in my mind of, like, you know, we all feel the same way. Like, we've been used and abused by so many people that, you know, have issues. They have used alcohol or drugs, you know, to mask that mental health, to mask that pain, you know, and then here you are being hurt by this because they're hurt, and it's just like the vicious cycle of mental health, mental issues and challenges, and, you know, how people are trying to cope with everyday living, you know, but going around hurting other people and causing more ruckus. And it's just like, that's a very deep poem, you know. It's a very, very deep poem.
It really is the definition of hurt people, hurt people.
Hurt people, and it's so true.
Yeah, and it's like, each of these people were people that I was in a romantic situation with of sorts, right? And like, they're all looking for love and trying to love the best they know how. And
the best they know how.
And that their best might not be what I need and what's okay and acceptable for me.
Exactly.
And it's not necessarily that these people are horrible people or anything of the sorts. Matter of fact, I actually think that every person that this is based off of is a intelligent, kind person. They just have a lot going on, and I can't necessarily fix it for them. I'm not equipped with the tools to be the person to give you new coping skills or to be the person to get you off of the floor every time, especially because it's not a friendship, we're in a romantic situation. I'm just not the resource you need at this moment. And in order for me to grow and still be the best version of myself, in order for me to still be able to be whole, I can't be involved anymore. And I had to make, in the last part of that poem, which I don't think we've ever talked about this poem one-on-one, but
we haven't.
The last portion of that poem is about my father.
Your father, I get it. I picked that up very quickly.
And I was just like, I can't repeat this in my adult life. I can't keep the cycle going. As much as I have love and care for my father, the distance is there.
Break that cycle.
The distance is always going to be there, you know? So yeah, I do love that poem.
That's one of my favorite. I'm just like, it is so dope and deep, and it just, for me, I'm just like talking mental health in this whole poem. That's what I'm talking about. It's therapy, because it's your truth and what you went through and dealt with. But at the same time, we can look at the other characters in the poem. They're hurting. And hurt, like you said, hurt people.
Yeah,
you know?
And like looking for the like answers to things, and like all like in mosh pits and hookups and like doing things that necessarily aren't like healthy ways of expressing emotion.
Instant gratification, you know. We're all trying to figure it out here, you know, and trying stuff like that is just, you know, okay, I'm gonna try it one time, 2 times, but don't get lost in the sauce.
Exactly. And you know, I'm 22. I'm in that age of everybody around me is trying the instant gratification. We're in our 20s, we're having fun.
Why not? We're still young, you know.
And I'm like, but
that's good. That's good. You got a very good head on your shoulders, you know.
And you know, I have a crazy night here and there, especially after like a torch club. I'll go and have fun and be like, dang, I have work on Monday.
But it's okay. You got that bounce back.
I got that bounce back. But for sure, like moving towards things that are advantageous for the future and not just the now me, right? Like, Cloudy, what you gonna do tomorrow? If you make this choice?
I had a lot of learning lessons. You know, I was always do now and deal with the consequences later. You know, I'm just now. I got a lot more years than you. So
now college, yes. There's one person who lives here in Sacramento. who I met him he was visiting my college when I was in my party girl, wild and out phase. And when he met me, like, when I saw him in Sacramento, it was like, I wish I could remember the name of this place. It's a Black-owned farm out here. And they're...
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes, and they have a newsletter and everything. Yeah. They work with, I'm almost positive they work with the Shakur Center. But I need to remember their name.
That's another open mic spot.
The Shakur Center, yes.
Or at the first Monday of the month.
Mm-hmm. And, like, he was like, what are you doing here? Because, like, very, very different vibe.
Right.
And I was like, oh, like, I do poetry. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And I went up and he was like, that is very different than who I met when you were in college. And I was
okay.
I was like, yeah. Days. I was like, I have multiple sides.
Right. As we all do.
Yeah. And now it's funny. I think that you were with, the last time we were at the Shakur Center, the tall guy. Yeah. Okay. When I was like, I think I know him. Yeah. And then, like, we did the awkward hug thing. Yeah, him. He's very sweet. Yes. And it was really funny, like, him. I think he's one of the few people who have seen me in both worlds, in my experimental college girl, figuring out who I was as an adult and artist, versus now, like, moving home, having a job, doing all the adult things.
Right. And it's okay. You can have those two different worlds. Yeah. It's just like, get some therapy though to balance
get some therapy. Oh my gosh. Especially with a 9 to 5. Like, if you have a 9 to 5, even if you love it, almost especially if you love it, because then you put more of yourself into it.
Right.
Get some therapy. Get somebody.
Write some poetry.
Yeah. Get somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Come to Thursday Therapy.
Right. Schedule that. I call them platonic dates with your friends.
Yes.
So that you can always have some people.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're gonna wrap up. Do you want to share your social media? You can, or you don't have to. If you would like followers.
I mean, signed.cloudy or signed cloudy on every single platform. Okay. It's just signed like you would sign something.
Okay.
Nice. And then cloudy, spelling it the way you would think. Awesome. All of my information is usually in my bios. You can DM me. You can email me. You can buy my book on Amazon.
Yes, buy her book on Amazon.
You can catch me on the Sacramento scene for sure.
Catch her on the Sacramento scene. Sign up for the book club at Sacramento Poetry Center through Sac
Poet Society.
Sac Poet Society, yes.
And I would say, show up for yourself and show up for your people.
Show up for the community.
All the time.
Is up and rising.
Yep. And if it's anyone who's gonna make sure to take care of you, it's community.
It is community. So check yourself, check your health. There's a lot of it out there, a lot of community out there. Thank you so much for joining my podcast. Have a good day.
Bye, y'all. How you turn it off?